Hello and welcome to Addiction Recovery Revolution. I'm your host, Debbie Nelson, and I'm really pleased to introduce a personal friend of mine who I also seek spiritual guidance from and healing, since she's a gifted healer. It is my pleasure to introduce my dear friend, Debbie Michell, with Healing Touches of Joy.
Hello.
Hello. I got introduced to Debbie and this journey that I was on because I knew I wanted to take holistic healing and take this back to the recovery world. And we had kind of a funny, not funny, but I think it was non-coincidental experience because I phoned her at 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm an early riser, thinking I would just get a voice recording to say I was interested in hearing about her work. And she answered the phone. And from that, answering the phone, I have developed this wonderful relationship with this person who's very talented in multiple forms of healing. So I was really excited to bring you on, Debbie, and to Addiction Recovery Revolution because I believe in you. Yeah. So, I think oftentimes the number one question that people have to ask is, what is energy healing? And since you're also a healer, but you do it in many ways, can you, in many modalities, I should say, kind of give an introduction into the layman world as to what you do?
Well, one thing that I like to do is use pictures because for me, pictures help me to understand concepts that are intangible. And energy work is often felt so differently by so many different people that pictures kind of create a common ground for people to understand. So one of the best pictures that I think I've found is the picture of the iceberg, where you see the top of the iceberg above the water, and then there's this massive, huge piece underneath. And for me, that's a perfect illustration of the conscious mind, which is above the water, and the subconscious mind, which is beneath. 9 times out of 10, in our lives when things aren't going well, we're trying to make goals and make changes and set ourselves up for something better. And we're using the top little piece of this iceberg when in reality, it's the bottom of the iceberg that's running the show. And so with energy work, we tap into the under the water things that can make such a difference in our above water experience. I like to also give an example. Most people have been in a situation where they've walked into a room and it's like, whoa, people were fighting in here. And though nothing is going on right then, they can feel that in the air. Words are above the water. But the feeling that's in the room is a perfect illustration of under the water experiences. When you think about someone over and over again, and then within the next few days they call you, that's because we all share the same water. All of us as icebergs, if you want to use that analogy, share the same water. That's how you get a gut feeling about somebody. So with energy work, what we're doing oftentimes is shifting or moving those negative energies that create difficulty for us in moving forward in our lives in a new way, a better way, living a higher law per se, and we make it a little bit easier to move forward. We don't always know what's under the water or why it got there or why it's stuck or why we feel the way we do about different things. But all of those things impact us in our desire to grow. And when we feel stuck, energy work is one of the tools that's been given to us on the earth to make forward movements easier for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm always describing to individuals saying, especially when it comes to addiction-related things, because immediately I brought energy healing back into the recovery world. But I'm really quick to say, I'm not going to heal your addiction by energy work. But what I will do is make your ability to be able to be teachable, to learn, and to free up those things that are hindering you from moving forward to get out of this place that you're stuck in. It's a wonderful... preparing, but you know, I often say even doing this, it's not something that you ever stop. I mean, we're continuing to work on this progression on various levels of things that we need help with. You know?
Yeah, well, the point of life, and I could be wrong. I mean, everybody's probably got their own opinion, but one of the things that I've seen and experienced over and over again is that we get into tight spots, we get into tough situations, and we get to choose, is this going to be a learning process for me? Am I going to be grateful that I'm going through this? Or am I going to get mad and throw a tantrum, get stuck, and take this class over and over again? And so many times, energy work can assist us in the process being a 1 or 2 time class versus a 50 time class, you know? And like, I really like your example of, I can't heal somebody. If someone was wrapped up in a cobweb and you use that cobweb as the example, maybe trauma that they experienced in their youth, or generational patterns that we inherit and get to deal with here on earth. My job is to move the cobwebs so you can move easier, but then I'm going to give you some tools and help you identify how you're going to go kill the leader. That's not my job. I can't do that for you. We need to help find new ways of thinking, new ways of speaking, new ways of interacting with people, new ways of raising your frequency so that you experience life with more joy, more happiness. It took a long time for me to realize that we actually have to learn how to sit with happiness long enough that it can become familiar to us if we've experienced a lot of trauma in our lives, because we recreate drama. That's what we're familiar with. That's what we're comfortable with. So energy work provides that impetus, or that ability to shift gears and to operate in a higher level.
Right. And that's what so many, I think so often we focus on, I mean, whether it's related to our money, whether it's related to addiction, whether it's related to relationships, there's so many avenues that we're able to kind of free people up and kind of take it to the next level, to kind of what took them years of hanging on to. Oftentimes it's amazing how rapidly that you can move forward.
Absolutely. Well, too, you know, even as you say that, I think it's still a process, but learning that the process is beautiful. You know, you and I have both been in experiences where people get to this place sometimes emotionally where they're just done. And I dealt in my family with, you know, 2 daughters that attempted suicide, a grandmother that succeeded, a mom that attempted. I understand that place of darkness, not personally, only by the grace of God, but to be able to have a tool that helps somebody to step back into a place that has more light, so you can see clear enough to take one more step forward, is such a beautiful thing. You know, there's my personal belief, and I say this because it's my personal belief, not because I think everybody else needs to believe it, but my personal belief is that true healing comes through the atonement of Jesus Christ. And it used to be that, you know, that sacrifice or that ability to change, other people can call it the universe, call it whatever you will. I work with people of all denominations. People call it by different names, but there is a power that makes change available to us. And it used to feel to me like I could hold my hand out and the power would just run through my fingers. There was nothing to catch it in. And as I started learning different modalities of energy work, and I mean, you look at herbs, you look at oils, you look at massage, chiropractic, whether it's, there's such a variety of things, but to me, each of those different modalities of healing is like a container. This one's a cup, this one's a bowl, this one's a pitcher. And it makes it so that you can capture that potential for change and partake of it and administer it to others, offer it to others, empowering them to experience those changes in their own lives. And that is a beautiful and amazing thing. It creates so much joy.
I think that's why this work is so profoundly powerful and has so much to offer people. Is just like 12-step. The foundation of 12-step will say, you know, whatever you believe in as your higher power is not relevant. Right. It's just whether or not you believe in a higher power, because if you don't, how are you going to scale this or get beyond? So this mentality, like you said, of the universe that we're bringing forward, whether it's energy healing in whatever form, it deals with that same energy. And what I always tell everyone is, if you can recognize that prayer is like a blip, depending on the intensity as to how intense someone is praying. And so when people will say, well, we're doing a prayer chain for the victims of Irma or Harvey, if you picture that one person does that, but it's the difference between being a whole massive city that's glowing and one person. But when you have that accumulative work, it's amazing to see what can be accomplished. Energy work is the same, is that when we deal with that energy that is undoubtedly that's around us, and we acknowledge it, and we use it in the sense of how we're supposed to, it's amazing to see what we propel ourselves forward to accomplish. That being said, I've often said to many people through this whole journey, and because I've become, I consider Debbie the person that I call. I always say to everyone, you know, when you have problems or when you have something that's going on, you're the one that I call. And I said, you know, it's kind of like an individual relationship that I have with a healer, a confidant, a mentor, brings me to that next level, that it helps me be able to scale, because it's not just because you're a healer or you've got this knowledge that you cease to have trials or things that continue to happen in your life. Right. So all of us have to continue to be on this journey, and it's reaching out and figuring out what gives you the peace, whatever brings you. And I've experienced many times where I've called Debbie and said, this is major that's going on. Look, I'd love to help you at this moment, but I can't, but let me do some work for you, and I'll talk to you later. So throughout the day, I all of a sudden recognize, wow, you know, it's just like this snap that occurred, and this darkness was lifted, and everything that I was going through, all of a sudden I was able to see clear and figure out what is my next step going to be and what I would do to go to the next level. You know, not saying my own prayers, all the things that I had done. And all of a sudden to receive a text message from you with a picture of all the different things that you'd worked on, and being absolutely blown away that those things had occurred at the same time that you had done them. You just had, and so that's kind of a difficult concept for a lot of people to understand, that work can be done much like prayer. Absolutely. Outside of, you know, you can call someone and say, I need this done. And many, I mean, everyone always thinks it's kind of like, well, if I'm not next to you, then I'm not able to get that work done. But our bodies are what are kind of heavy and cumbersome, but our spirits are not. And that's one of the reasons I love that analogy of the water, because if you picture the whole globe covered with water and all those icebergs, you know, the whales talk miles apart from each other. And so do our spirits.
we can tell when something is wrong sometimes. Some people are more sensitive to it than others. That's one of the reasons I really like the, how do you explain it? Like, you know how some people are like, oh my gosh, I need magnesium because my legs are cramped now, whatever. They kind of have a sense about what they need. And some people are not as sensitive. They're like, I know something is wrong, but I have no idea what to do about it.
Right.
With energy work, some people are more sensitive to a tangible sensation when that work is done.
Right.
And others, it's not visceral. It's not physical for them. You know, they don't feel it necessarily. Or just down the road, they go, hey, I'm responding differently to this situation that used to be a problem for me.
Right.
So it's not the same, but it's all encompassing.
Right.
It's the same way that, how can the sun reach so many different people at the same time? It's only in one place. You know, or how can God hear prayers from every single person on the planet at the same time? It's really amazing and cool, I think.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I think so highly of your knowledge and the level of intuition that you have when you go to help people, because I think, you know, a big part of it is that we keep working on being able to read that and test what it is that we need to be able to do to help each individual. And I think it just continues to get refined the more that we do it, the more that you are involved with it, the more, you know, there's undoubtedly, I think that individuals are drawn to this because of, I think we all have these gifts, but some people are further along the path.
Yeah.
And some, I think that we never stop growing and learning, even once we do.
Absolutely.
We continue to. So anyone who's interested in reaching out to Debbie can do so by her website, and it's Healing Touches of Joy. Okay. And then also her phone number, if you want to give out your phone number, Debbie, if anyone that wants to be in contact with the schedule session.
Now, I have to say, I've recently been going through a number of educational experiences with my mom, and my voicemail currently is not set up because of everything that's been going on, but I will within this week get that set up. So it's 520-510-3523. And I am excited to have with things that people are willing to be helped with. And, you know, if there's, even sometimes it's just a matter of suggesting a book, or, you know, there's so many different parts and pieces to changing and growing. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here on the planet and learn how to forgive when it's hard to forgive. Learn how to say you're sorry when it's hard to say you're sorry. Learn how to love people that they put forward this facade that isn't very lovable. But all of those things, the learning, the growing, the loving, is so interconnected. We all influence each other, and I am honored to be your friend and to have experiences that I have had with you. You have an amazing grit that inspires me. When I have hard things come up, I think, well, you know, Deb's got it harder. I can do this. I can do this. And I appreciate your stamina and your ability to just push through. And I enjoy the opportunity to reach back and reach forward and help anybody that I can, and be assisted in ways that others can help me. So thank you for the invite to be
well, I'm glad
in a conversation like this.
Speech for someone, I said oftentimes, I'm like, to somehow portray that I myself don't reach out to mentors and to healers myself. I do, because the more that I'm involved within the community of individuals that do this, we work together. We work on one another. We recognize the power, and oftentimes when we hit those blocks ourselves, we recognize that it's almost advantageous for us to reach out just because we're too close to the problem oftentimes to see the solution. And so
as a fish in a fishbowl, you can't see your own tail.
That's why honestly, I say that over and over. So the humility is in the sense that it's so wrong to portray that that there's never incidences or times that you don't continue to hit your own roadblocks in life.
Walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what happens often is people, they jump off the bandwagon. They jump off because it gets overwhelming. And I think energy healing is such a valuable tool that it's for myself that I feel so passionate about it that it needs to be more recognized and accessible, and have people, those that want to and see it. And I always say, when something kind of resonates with you, or you feel there's a pull to learn more or do it, that's your spirit that's saying it's time for you to do this. And oftentimes, even if there's a resistance, that's even more time, because that's, it's like there's someone working against you that could be helping to help you further along.
Absolutely.
So, that's oftentimes, I think that happens with people, is that everyone gets too in their brain, and our minds, I think, so often we will overanalyze things to the point that we don't move forward. And so if you just move forward, well, one of the blogs that I'm constructing right now, or one of the articles, is, it's funny because in the 12-step community, oftentimes you say words like alternative or holistic or scientific or biological, and you pair it with recovery, that people put it in the same category as like apostatizing from a church or or God, and I keep nobody's saying to replace anything. I'm just saying it's time for us to scale recovery, and by incorporating other forms of healing. And I've never stopped continuing to partake of and recognize other forms of healing within my life. I'm not done. It's not like so anytime someone presents an option for me, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Continue to be of service. Like, every time I've had sessions with you, it's profoundly shifting and changing. So certain things, for me, I've partaken of and said, that's kind of cool. But I'm not saying that other people haven't had profound experiences. I think each person is a different individual. So I welcome.
Well, it's like a thumbprint.
Right. Exactly.
So everybody's got their own gifts and their own talents.
Exactly. And where people are at and what they're needing, it just changes. I think that's part of, I felt incredibly blessed with this summit that I produced recently on brain health, because it's like somehow negating that there's a biochemical aspect to addiction, that there's mental health issues. So I've been given that gift of learning that aspect and how that's benefited myself. If I kept myself in that box, I would never even have said, well, that I'm not going to do that. I already do energy healing. Why do I want anything to do with that?
Right.
And instead, I've learned a whole different component that now I can bring back to a population and again say, no, here's another thing.
Right. It's the thing that I've seen is the most effective is when people layer their efforts to heal. They're willing to read. They're willing to listen. They're willing to write. They're willing to look at the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual aspect and understand that they are so tightly bound together that it all alters the whole picture.
Well, I always use the analogy of fortifying the fort. I say there's no such thing as fortifying and reinforcing your walls. If you want to hold on to long-term recovery, there's nothing out there that doesn't say to continue to fortify and grow your expansion as to what that looks like. So if it's, like I said, there's every aspect of recovery that's revolved around, there's the physical, there's the spiritual. So whatever resonates with each person, and I always tell everyone, like, you're not hurting my feelings. If it's something that doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. Move to the thing, but don't stop with one simple idea and then move up.
Yeah, because that, to me, sometimes there's a story about a guy who was told by his boss, okay, I need you to come out here and I need you to push on this rock every day, like push with all your might all day long. And after 3 days, when the boss came out, the guy's like, I cannot move this rock. I'm done. I quit. And the boss started laughing and he said, you think that I want you to move the rock? I just said push on the rock. I didn't need you to move it. I'm developing your muscles and your determination and your stamina. When we try one thing and then we walk away and we say, well, this is just how I am, we have missed the point.
Well,
and you can't expect change if you're not willing to keep moving forward inch by inch.
And if we're not willing to visualize, like, what is it that we really want? Really,
being able to see,
our thoughts are so profoundly powerful, and it's two different. So when our reality oftentimes doesn't, I shouldn't say our reality, but our time frame doesn't catch up to what we want, we become incredibly discouraged.
Yes.
And feel as if, instead of recognizing, well, maybe there's a reason for this occurring.
Yeah.
And all's well, and it will, if we do our due diligence. It doesn't go without saying that we need to do.
Can I give you an example?
Hmm?
Can I give you an example?
Sure.
So my dad passed in March, and I moved in with my mom in Idaho. And since he passed, we've had the pump go out. We had to empty the attic that she's been putting stuff in for 22 years to replace the roof. Then we found out that the water heater was broken. And so in replacing the water heater, we found out that all the pipes need replaced in the whole house. And then as we were pulling down walls to replace pipes, we found black mold in the basement. And so now we've gutted the basement, emptied the whole basement, all of this stuff. And, there was one day that we have filled a 25 by 11 storage unit with the stuff. And I was feeling so overwhelmed and so like, is this never going to end? Why are we doing this? And all of a sudden there was this sense of peace that came over me. And it was as if I heard someone say, this is all about cleanse. This is about an opportunity for your mom and you, if you consecrate it, to cleanse emotionally and spiritually while you're doing that physically. I didn't know that.
Right.
All the time I was doing that, I could have had a different attitude had I asked, how can I benefit from this? How can I look at this with an eternal perspective? And so to me, so many times when we fail to look for the big picture or the rainbow that comes at the end of the storm, we get all mad about the mud that we're in.
Right.
And we don't have to.
Right.
That's what energy work helps with, is being able to have that clarity and see the rainbow before the storm ends sometimes.
Right.
So thank you again.
Thank you, Debbie, for taking the time to be with us and to share your wonderful gift of healing and an explanation, to kind of put it out there again from another healer besides myself. When we're always putting it out there, it always is kind of like this, strange thing to help. But I think until people experience, I always say more than, it's difficult, even though people will say one session. I think that honestly it's more than one session for people to walk through, because it really takes that aha moment of recognizing that things have shifted and changed, and then going to the next level, like you said, and saying, okay, well, now let's work on what was causing that.
Right. Finding the root.
Yeah. So thanks, Deb. Thank you for taking the time.
No problem. Thank
All
you.
right.